Hello, welcome to A Stab in the Dark, joined by Dave and Mike.
Hello.
I'm Joe.
Hello.
Good evening, good afternoon, good day, however you are, wherever you are.
And good night. Also.
And good night.
Could be watching it then.
Absolutely. So, or wherever you are, hello. And welcome to this week where we talk about Housebound. This is our retrospective on the 2014 movie from New Zealand, the land next to the Down Under land.
It's still down under, I guess.
Yeah, to the...
No, it's next to Down Under. That's what you said.
Thank you.
Down under adjacent.
Yeah. So, Dave, why don't you let it rip?
Okay. Overall thoughts?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you want to share.
Well, I want to go back to talking about New Zealand. No, I mean, for me, this is one of my all-time favourite films. Like, genuinely. I love it. I've seen it like 10 times already.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm about to mimic those exact thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We watched it 5 times in that one weekend when we discovered it. So, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
With every single
Well, we are
member of
pretty
the
ridiculous.
house. Yeah.
Wow.
But I absolutely love it. For me, the perfect blending of horror and comedy.
And kind of thriller as well. Like, it's got all of the...
Yeah, that's... I mean, I love the main character of Kylie. Her, like, character arc, her growth.
Yep.
Like, how brave they were to make her unlikable at the beginning.
And at times throughout as well, really.
Yes,
She's quite rude to Graham. She's quite rude to security man, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Amos.
Yeah. Love her mum, of course. Love the mystery, especially in like the first half. I love how...
I knew you were going to love this. I knew you were about to say...
He's a big mystery fan.
It's a mystery.
Well, at least I'm consistent.
There's a whodunit.
Well, there is. I like it. I like what I like. I like what I like. And I like that it keeps you guessing all the way through as well. You think it's going to be a ghost story.
Keeps shifting genres.
Yeah, then home invasion, maybe someone in the walls,
Yeah,
maybe
kind of like an outbacky redneck villain for a time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What do we... Yeah, sorry, carry on.
You just enjoyed that. Yeah.
It just sounded like that could be a rude word, which you said.
Redneck?
Yeah, outbacky redneck. That sounds a bit like...
Outbacky?
You didn't enunciate it that well the first time.
It just sounds a bit like, wrong.
Dubious.
Yeah.
I'm standing by it.
So what are your thoughts then, Mike?
I love this movie. It's one of my favourites. And I love all of the characters just like Dave does.
Boring.
Have you got the same notes
I'll
as me?
mention the other characters because he didn't mention them. The security guy that's kind of bumbling along and like he's really up on the ghosts out of nowhere and like the kind of like facial acting in this where nobody's saying anything and there's like facial expressions, particularly from the mom and the main character Kylie.
Yep.
Eugene is amazing, even though you get only a bit of him at the end. Dennis is amazing. Like every single person in this every single character in this movie is its own
amazing.
Thanks for saying that, Joe. I think it is amazing. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's just entertaining throughout. I love the comedy. I think it gets it spot on, as a lot of New Zealand indie movies tend to do, in my experience. And it's just a perfect horror comedy.
Yeah, I think there's something about like New Zealand comedy. I think maybe it's quite...
I think the accents possibly help a little bit as well.
True. But do you think it's quite similar to British comedy, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that.
Yeah. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I love Kiwi and Aussie like comedy. It's sort of like the love child between English humour and American humour. They have their own sense of like sarcasm in this sort of humour. You see it like the Kylie's character reminds me a bit of Kim in Kath and Kim, like that sort of bratty child going nah. Like that's like a real Aussie thing to do, a real Kiwi thing to do. That sort of language and the way you say that is very bogan. So it's got that sort of stylings that I like, which I saw a lot on the TV when I was over there in Australia. And in fact, I saw this movie over there at the time. Completely forgot that I did.
Oh, right.
Which I took to be a little bit of blasphemy.
No, I didn't mean it like that, because I couldn't remember the name of it. I just saw it. I can't remember how the hell I saw it. I think it was a cinema somewhere in like a double bill. One Halloween, I think. And then when I turned it on, immediately it all came flooding back, and the plot and everything came back. So it was memorable.
Did leave an impression.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the name is like kind of generic in a way. Like,
But-
Yeah, the name. A lot of the times when I mention this movie to people I know have seen it because I've showed it to them, I have to say it's the one with the guy in the walls, and
Yeah.
So technically, if there's only one flaw in this movie, it's the title. Maybe
Well,
not being
it's a house.
catchy
It's
enough.
a multi-story house. So there's more than one.
Jesus Christ.
But no, I did really enjoy it. I like it's really fun. Again, this time around, I watched it with my mum and Terry again. I see them there. I use them as like my sort of
Casual sounding board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And mum came out of this one going, "Oh, this is really great. Really enjoyed this." So for comedy horror, it definitely hits the marks because she got freaked out at times with a few of the jump scares that, when they do the music like boom, like something happens.
Yeah. I love all of the like quote unquote horror bits because they're not truly horror, are they? There's jumpy bits and spooky bits, but they're always kind of tinged with a little bit of comedy of some kind.
Yeah, it's almost
like nestled in there.
Absurd
Yeah.
horror. Yeah.
And
well executed.
Yeah, there's this sort of, as you say, absurd is a good word for their type of humour and how they are. Like, it's just an interesting mix of everything that you see, which they've been influenced by from the UK and America. And there's this, they do it perfectly, and they use like their own homegrown type of humour as well. There's certain people over there who get on really well. Someone like Bill Bailey. He's kind of absurdity in the way he does things, like in Buzzcocks, translates very well.
It's the same thing with Ross Noble, right? Who is actually...
Well, he lives on the Mornington Peninsula near Melbourne, yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
He's in Australia?
And he spends half his year and I saw him randomly in the middle of nowhere. I went to see his gig in Mooroopna, which has a population of about 1,000, something like that.
And yet he was there.
And he was there
Pretty
in their
world
town
famous
hall.
Ross Noble.
Which is really weird to hear that northern accent in the middle of rural Victoria.
And
really
every
weird.
single... It's not a Ross Noble podcast. Every single comedy show he does is completely different. Isn't it? It's amazing.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
I'm endlessly impressed by
It was
that.
great. And he just went off on different tangents all the time.
Random shit from the audience and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. So, yeah, his style of humour works well. Bill Bailey, and that's their absurdity, and that's the sort of stuff that just goes down a storm. If you think of like Summer Heights High, and I can't think of his name right now, but
Chris Lilly.
Chris Lilly, that's the one. But he's got an absurdity to him. Kath and Kim and Magda, she's got an absurdity to her as well. So they're all this influence down under, like with all this stuff, and it's their own brand of comedy. So I definitely really enjoyed this. It took me back where the mom starts talking about the pokies, going to the pub, and then you see all the sad bastards in the other room on the pokies, which is like poker on a screen. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
And they're there. There's like people there all day, and it's all they do is in these pubs, and they all have this gambling room.
Very British thing as well, really, though, isn't
It is,
like,
but it's there's a certain thing about there.
Yeah.
If you go over there, you'll see like what the pokers is like. It's a very certain style.
And a lot of the things are kind of universal anyway, right? Like the mom being super like talkative and those kind of things. Like you see that not executed so well in American comedy, but in British and Australian and New Zealand comedy, it's always great.
She reminded me a bit of the mom in Shaun of the Dead. Because she's kind of out of it half the time, like she's smoked a big joint or something. Like
coming back into the conversation halfway through,
But so it's really good. Like I just had a great time with this film and enjoyed it ever so much both times I saw it.
Spiffing.
Yeah. So
yes,
we're unanimous on its
this isn't The Mist.
Credits. This is not. This is not
agreement.
Let's not trench that back up. I'm still angry.
Where do you want to go with this, Dave? Is there anything you have? Should we go to Dave's Factoid Corner? Do you want to go to Dave's Facts? Definitely not Wiki.
Is that a new segment?
Yes.
The Factoid Corner.
Well, let's not introduce it with this one because I only got one.
No. Welcome to Dave's Facts. That's
definitely copyright protected. That ditty. Yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Here's a quote from writer, director, and editor Gerard Johnson about the character of Kylie. He wanted her to be someone that wouldn't scare easily. That way, when she finally does fall victim to fear, it's much more palpable.
Dave's Factoid Corner.
Yeah. Well, that's a trope used quite often, isn't it? Like, it's an inversion of what they used to do in the 50s and 60s, where they'd get like a young kind of innocent girl in the ghost house, and obviously she's freaking out and being told she's hysterical. They invert that these days and get someone that you think you can trust. And so when they reach a level of scared to run around and scream and be irrational, it gives more weight to
so like more of a
Yeah.
believable audience surrogate, I guess, for like a modern audience.
For a more cynical kind of non-ghost believing audience.
I do actually like. She's probably up there. I don't know exactly where, but it's one of my like all-time favorite like one-off horror like female protagonists.
Yeah.
She's up there
Absolutely
with
love
like
it.
Erin from You're Next. As well. They're like the two that come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
like-
it's difficult because Your Next is a bit like a survivor girl, whereas this is more like everybody survives in this movie, don't they? So it's more. There's more focus on other characters, so for her to shine in Housebound, she has to shine brighter.
Yeah,
See
that's
what I
true.
mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying about her facial reactions as well. I forgot to mention it at the beginning, but they're so good.
Yeah.
Like her look of disgust, like whenever Mum asks to do anything.
Yeah.
cracks
The
me
bit
up.
in the basement when the mum's slowly building towards saying the house is haunted, and she's just like the daughter isn't saying anything, but she's just eye acting out the extreme. Yeah. Or when Graham's rambling on about his family, and she's just like, oh, no. Gotta wait there for 10 minutes while the thing sets. Yeah. Amazing. Love it.
Well, I was looking at like any good Kiwi or Aussie actress. She had a starring role in Neighbours for a few years.
Yeah. As you would presume. Yeah. Well, either that or Home and Away. But
Yeah. Well, Neighbours is the pinnacle, isn't it?
That's my favourite. You know, in Smile, the first one, the woman in the opening scene who dies, she's from Neighbours as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then and the mother as well. So we've also got what's her name?
Miriam.
Miriam. Yeah, Miriam or Rima Tawita.
To whiter?
Sorry.
Are we sure Joe's pronunciation isn't the right one?
Oh God, I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're offended by that. I didn't mean anything by it. I just can't do names.
We're going to get boycotted in New Zealand now.
Yes. But she's obviously been around The Hunt for the Wilder People as well.
Yeah, which is another great, not horror, but comedy.
Yeah,
New Zealand-y movie. Yeah.
Apparently she's British-born New Zealand singer, comedian, stage, film and television actress. There you go. So she's been in all sorts. I don't know, both here, Australia and the NZ.
I wish it did catapult, at the very least, Kylie into more horror roles or more famous roles in general.
I'm just looking, and really she's not been in much else.
Maybe that will happen at some point.
Maybe.
Or maybe I just need to dig deeper into New Zealand-y cinema and find more nuggets. But
I mean, is this well known, really, this film? Like, outside?
yeah, I wondered
I
that.
don't
I'm not sure
know.
that it was back in 2014 when we were hyping it, but it's got 38,000 votes on IMDb, which may not be the best way of metricizing these things, but I'm used to watching horror movies these days that got like 4,000 or something, so that must mean something.
Yeah, but that's for you. The deep dives are your
Correct.
things.
But all I'm saying is it's not obscure. That's
And the only reason I saw it is because I was on that side of the world. There is no way on earth I would have known about this film.
I mean, that is
Had I
true.
not
I
been in
don't think I've
Australia.
met anyone that's seen it that haven't or didn't see it because I showed it to them or recommended it to them.
I'm probably like the first person.
I was going to say, you're
Like,
lucky that you
naturally,
dodged that
yeah.
then, because we watched it like with everybody at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, I must have dodged it because I definitely saw that recently somewhere, and I just can't figure out where. Can't put my finger on it.
It makes me happy though. It must have been re-released for whatever reason in a Halloween show.
Yeah, well, they
And I'd love to know what it was double billed with if you could ever remember that.
Yeah.
That would be
Oh, God.
interesting. Yeah.
I just know that over there in Australia, they have a lot more care over their cinema in general. You know, People still turn up a lot.
Yeah, and they're not all chains and
no, exactly.
just basically Cineworlds or Odeons like that.
Yeah, I mean, and they upgrade and sometimes they keep how it was, lots of like different cinemas. So you'll still find a single auditorium in St Kilda in the Astor Theatre, which is still amazing. Still got 1940s like seats and everything. It's all original. So they show a lot of old stuff there, and there's like the Nova in Fitzroy, which has got like amazing sort of artsy films. A lot of British cinema gets shown there as well, and they have different like foreign cinema bits. And so there's a lot of they appreciate and like all their sort of horror films, just indie films and all sorts.
Yeah, I feel like whoever was like curating the double bill to put this on must
be a man in the know or woman in the know.
I mean, how do we find it? Like we were already like scratching the bottom of the barrel at that point, looking.
At the bottom of the barrel before I got way into my IMDb and Letterboxd and deep diving. But I don't know how we found it. It must have just
like a list,
because we used to watch a lot of like Watch Mojo, Mojo top 10s back then for random movies to watch. So maybe it was in one of those. I'm glad we did find it.
Like Watch Mojo Down Under, like like we have a UK one.
.au.
Yeah. That would be
great. Yeah.
So let's have a go through the plot, shall we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Since we do that, let's sort of review it as we go and what we like.
Yeah.
So we got Carly Bucknell, a troubled young woman, attempts to steal the safe from an ATM, but fails to escape and is arrested with that great scene where she goes over like the ballon thing. And
I love it when her boyfriend's like
bashes the head in her face. Yeah,
that's great.
Like you're like, am I supposed to laugh? Like, is this a comedy or is this?
You're not really let on immediately.
Yeah.
But it sets the terms for what the comedy's going to be like throughout the movie. I think it's like realistic absurdism. Like they're not jokes, so to speak. They're like happenings that happen to be funny.
Yeah,
and characters that happen to be funny.
I think it's interesting, just to diverge where we are going with this, but there's deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, and that's all the bonus there is on there, actually. But one of them got cut out because it was too serious. There's a scene between Carly and her mom where they're arguing on the stairs, and they're saying like why the father left, and the mom's going, well, don't you know why we're like I found it hard. This has been really difficult for me too, and and it's just a very serious scene, and and it's great acting. The acting in it is really, really good.
What did you think? Yeah. Would you have cut it if you've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You kind of get that implication without that scene.
You do, yeah.
That scene
you don't necessarily need it, and they said they cut it basically because the tone of the film it would have changed the tone of the film, and they wanted to keep it quite jovial throughout. Well, that would have probably changed it, but then I don't mind a bit of seriousness within it.
Yeah, I also don't mind messing with the tone sometimes for a vision, but because he edited it also, didn't he? So it must have been quite hard, I think, to write, direct, and edit at the end. Yeah, you have to be very like disciplined as an editor
and know exactly what you want from this product. Yeah.
And what you can say about this is done very well to keep it under 2 hours as well.
Yeah, it's very refreshing these days.
If one thing we've seen is,
and I usually rail on horror movies that are this long, but it absolutely breezes by. Like, it doesn't feel like an hour and 50 minutes at all.
But that's about right. I think someone who is actually editing themselves and they're the director and writer, that's quite the task. We've seen, like, Damien Leone can't do that. Like 2.5 hour Terrifier 2. Whatever. I love them.
2 hour Terrifier 3.
Yeah, but well. I don't mind that. Like, let's not go there.
That was the perfect, like...
that was a good level.
Perfect, if you all say so.
But he's very impressively knocked this down and kept a certain rhythm throughout. Like, it never gets stuck anywhere. And as you say, the time flies by because something is added and something is changed. And it's really, really
shows
good.
An amazing amount of talent for someone who wasn't particularly accomplished on a big stage before this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there we go. So, when she gets arrested after she can't get away and gets, like, marooned... A bit like Nico Hulkenberg at the recent Brazilian Grand Prix. He also his F1 car got marooned on a little ledge, just like her. So,
well, they're completely flat, aren't they? An F1 car. So,
so it did the exact same thing as what happened to her car there.
Did you have F1 on your Joe Tangent bingo card?
No. But if I was forced to concoct one, it would be one of the squares. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got disqualified and she got arrested, so it doesn't help when you get beached.
So you're saying they're basically the same person?
There's no good beachings, is what you're saying. Yeah. Nobody's ever been thankful for a beach. Yeah.
No, she gets sentenced to.
You're doing some scat.
Whoa.
Safe word scat.
Which type?
What you do in your private life is you and you alone. But
anyhow, she's arrested and then given 8 months under the care of her mother in the courts, and this is due to her background of already having been arrested, and she like things like meth and stuff like that. So,
You're still thinking about scat.
So, and we were introduced to.
I do love the bit in the court where she's completely apathetic until she's sentenced to.
She's like, no.
And suddenly she's not cool with the situation. Yeah.
And then has to go home and
you're gonna laugh about scat for the entire rest of the podcast.
Hey, take over, Dave.
I like at the beginning, like she's just so we're introduced to her mum Miriam and her stepfather Graham. She's with her so security contractor Amos, who like drives us to the house and like explains the ankle bracelet to her.
Yep.
I love like really early on. I think it's like the first night when like Kylie's just like listening to the radio, and then her mum calls in.
Yeah.
And, like her reaction to that, it's so funny. Like she's like, "Oh fuck, please don't be, please don't be." But I thought it was a nice way as well of kind of like establishing like a ghost early on. And then it's
very healthily progressed, as most of the revelations in this movie are. They're done in such a kind of unique way, and it seems so natural, but it's unnatural for movie making. I think like a lot of less talented directors and writers would have told us that rather than using like external sources to input for the information.
Like you know the exposition in The Mist.
Yeah,
it was
intentional.
Complete opposite of the first half of The Mist. Yeah.
Anyway,
and you're forgetting that Carly's mom goes into the back of the security.
Oh yeah, our introduction to her
is a goof. Yeah,
she's like,
yeah.
It got me worse than you, or something.
And another early thing she says is the bit about the iPhones, where she's like, "Is that one of them new iPhones?" No, Graham, she's got one of those new iPhones. It's like classic mom kind of energy.
It's like,
love it.
But overbearing mom turned up to 11, like sort of like a caricature.
I don't think she's overbearing. Come on.
Well, she's
just not.
I wouldn't agree with overbearing, but she certainly would be annoying if you were a daughter, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
All the time. Yeah.
I'm just checking the meaning of overbearing.
Like controlling, like.
Yeah, I guess that's the wrong word.
Inserting yourself in your life too much, I would say.
Yeah. Which I guess some parents can be. Anyway,
to bring it down.
Not good old Miriam there.
we should cut that. Or bring down the tone of the whole piece.
No, we're not as good editors as Joe Johnson.
Yeah, he'd have cut it. Yeah. What about the acting though, Joe? Your acting there was so good.
Oh, sorry, the acting in the scene. I've forgotten what I said 2 minutes ago. Yeah.
Couldn't even keep up with your own joke.
Your joke was good.
Thanks. It's going to get cut there. I'm guessing. Carry on.
Well, maybe this might just be I'm freewheeling it now.
Just keep it up. We're going to Veroticus this bad boy.
Yeah. I do like Kylie in this. I mean, all the stuff that's happening in the house. I love all the little details in this film. So you've got things like dial-up internet.
Yeah.
And this is 2014. This was released. So
and her reaction again is like, and then it just blows up.
Yeah.
There's also another good bit of foreshadowing at the beginning as well when they say that
the meatloaf's been eaten, or are you a different one?
What the fuck are you talking about?
I thought you were on about when the mom accuses Kylie of eating the meatloaf, and Kylie says, "No, I only had a bit of it," and the whole thing had been eaten, and she assumes it's Kylie chatting shit. That's another bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
What's your bit of foreshadowing? Dave?
Oh, about the furnace not working.
Dave,
yeah.
About the furnace not working. That's foreshadowing.
Remind me.
Is that foreshadowing? Is there more information to that foreshadowing? Is this like that trivia we saw on Scooby-Doo where it was like the presence of 20 cats foreshadows the fact that these are cat people or something?
There was a reason I wrote this bullet point.
Yeah.
Dave's foreshadowing corner.
This corner's turning more into like a pile.
It's a dunce corner at the moment.
Yeah. You need one of the spin caps. Yeah.
Yeah, the furnace is relevant, probably.
Is that what you reckon?
Eugene,
The foreshadowing of the furnace?
Yeah, Eugene uses it to return the
Yeah. Well, just that it's broken.
Yes, that's
It's foreshadowing what?
that it's going to be in the film later.
I don't understand.
See, if you didn't interrupt me with actual good foreshadowing, mine would look better.
This would seem like genius.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
I remember now the boiler was broken, and later on we saw that it was broken.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like it said in the start, it was broken. How that was foreshadowing.
Can we cut him out and keep mine?
I'm not sure that
Just move his lips and have my my foreshadowing come out.
Back to the plot, Joe.
All right. So I also love the little details. So I was saying about the computer and being on dial-up. I also love that they got HP source in the house. Like that is not well known on Down Under. Like they do not just have HP source.
Might be massive in New Zealand, adjacent to Down Under.
To the east.
Eastern Down Under. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can buy it at Woolworths, but you can also do that in Australia too. But it's not like something that's just on the shelf all the time. You have to go to more like the bigger versions of Woolworths or Coles to get them, and it's just like nice, like little details about who they are.
Yeah, and what exactly is that foreshadowing?
It's not foreshadowing.
No.
Just like the boiler.
I'm just saying, I like the details of the scene, and I like the amount of effort they've gone into to include something like that. It feels like something that someone...
It feels like a real house. It doesn't feel like a set, is what you're saying, basically.
And it feels like maybe they've emigrated from the UK. Like it's those families that keep the traditions. Like even though it's 50 degrees on Christmas Day in Australia, people who may have once been British and now in Australia, they still have a roast. Like Aussies don't do that. They have like seafood platters and stuff. But there's something about keeping that part of yourself alive there. So it's living, as you say. It's a living, breathing entity. There's the set. And I appreciate...
And it's a very lived-in house. It looks
exactly.
homey. It doesn't look like a set.
Yeah.
Like a lot of movies you see, it looks like a show home. It's got pristine kitchen and so on. Yeah.
It's got a real feeling, and I love that about it. That's one of my favourite bits in the whole thing. It's just...
Well, actually, I love that it's basically initially set up as a haunted house, and it looks like a haunted house as well, right? Like,
yeah.
And then you go into...
Well, it's a bit Amityville, isn't it? With the top window and... so on.
But it's little bits of realism within it, like, oh, we were going to buy the house and then move it on. Like, that doesn't make sense to us over here, but over there it makes complete sense. You can split houses up and put them on the back of 2 trucks and move them to a different state. You can do that. It's a normal thing, and you do it up. You know, these things happen over there much more frequently, and there's less planning permission. The countries in their modern form aren't that old. Obviously, there's an Aboriginal population who would have been there for thousands of years before Western settlers. But in the Western world today, as we know, Australia and New Zealand, a lot of this is colonial housing and was only there in the 1800s, So...
And there's a lot more real estate, right? Like free terrain to roam.
Exactly.
If you buy a house in America or Australia.
Like a couple I met in Queensland who they moved the house from New South Wales and moved it up into where they wanted to in the tablelands and put it on top of a hill because they own the land, and they did the house up over a course of like 10 years and ended up in like Country House magazine. Huge digression we're doing here, but these the little details of that stuff which I appreciate and I get is like something it felt normal to me, which meant the sort of scripting and the lines they say may not feel normal to you two, what they're saying in some areas, but I'm sort of going, oh yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense
it definitely is. Like,
It felt
certainly
very-
some of the
yeah.
things,
Yeah.
some of the things they say might be regionalisms, I guess, but the family dynamic and that kind
Yeah.
of thing,
Yeah, you could buy
Oh, yeah, the big
immediate-
stuff.
very
Yeah.
universal. Yeah.
But I can see why maybe it didn't make it big in other Western cultures like ours, in the UK and stuff, and why it hasn't progressed in the same way, because it is very much for that audience
Yeah.
over there.
Certainly got noticed enough to put him forward for Megan, right? Which is
Yeah,
an American
definitely.
produced movie that everybody knows and is super famous and made a lot
That's
of
true,
money.
but if it's
Yeah.
the same then...
It could have been James Wan because he produced that, didn't he? He's Australian as well, right? So
Oh, I didn't know James Wan was Australian.
yeah.
But you can say
Perhaps.
that about things like people would start on hospital radio and go to Radio 2 and stuff like that. And it's just a progression. So
Yeah.
if people see that you've got the skills to do it and they see a little indie movie you've done, then yeah, you can get something like Megan off the back of that.
Yeah. Well, it's like Darren Aronofsky, right? He made Pi, which is like very low budget, black and white, very good movie though still. And now he's like a big name, one of the big famous director names that we know. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so with the back to the film, and then she goes into the basement, finds Jesus.
Yeah.
yeah, scary Jesus.
It's very, very
There's not many movies with a Jesus jump scare, so that's good. Yeah.
And then obviously the hand comes out, and that's where you kind of know something is
Something's
going
happening,
on.
But we get a bit of Hello Moto before that.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
a-
yeah,
This
it's a
film
great
makes Helen
recurring
Marta scary somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
moving around the house.
Yeah.
It is a catchy tune as well.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well done.
unfortunate that Motorola died, so we can never hear it again.
Is it
But-
not still going?
Pretty sure it died, didn't it? When's the last time you saw someone with a Motorola phone?
Motorola was... Rest in peace.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah. When did it die? 2011, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
13 years
before
ago.
the film, even though.
Well, they no, but they still do Motorola phones.
Right.
So it's not
Just
dead.
not the original, no.
So what are you saying?
I don't
What
know.
happened in 2011?
Just any old year.
It's the date the article was produced.
Oh,
He's reading. Yeah.
I think Lenovo own it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know them.
Google owned it for a while. Then Lenovo owns it now.
Levolvo,
Lenovo. Yeah. So there you go. That's yeah. This is a wild one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for 2014, that might be. It's probably an old phone, right? Is it her phone? Is it ever established whose phone it is?
It's her phone, yeah.
So is that like an oldie worldy callback, like the dial-up internet,
No, I think she's just got a Motorola.
Just has an old phone.
like
Yeah.
a burner
Yeah.
phone, or
Like,
something?
Yeah,
like
probably,
maybe
yeah.
that's all she's allowed under house arrest or something. Yeah. So yeah. Anyhow,
Anywho,
where were we, Dave?
So the hand reaches out and grabs her in the basement. So this is when she enlists Amos, right?
Yeah.
To help her out to search for ghosts. And then we find out that he's a massive ghost hunting enthusiast.
Well, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
immediately snaps and is super involved.
And
from
they're
that
like
point.
best
Yeah.
friends from then on. So is this when he turns up in his like
What are you saying, Miriam?
in his pajamas? He's like comes in the middle
Yeah,
of the night.
Yeah, I live in the
pajamas.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is also when we meet Dennis, her psychologist. And what I noticed, this is actual foreshadowing.
Well, let's wait till we hear it.
Is that when you know that he's the killer, every single time that she talks about ghosts, he every single time he like deflects away, makes it about her or about the stress of the situation or blah blah blah, and he's deflecting all the time.
Isn't that kind of his job, though?
Yeah, but like he's
Isn't that
like,
what counsellors do?
no, you should like let her talk if she's like you should never tell her to not.
I think
talk.
he is.
No,
He is
he-
a bad therapist, though, as well. That we kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
realise,
But that's why
That's his cover, isn't
that's
it?
why that's why we accept it. Is like, okay, he's just not doing a very good
He's
job.
just a bumbling fool.
but when you
Yeah,
but when
like he
you
says
know
on the doorstep, which
Yeah.
is also great. Yeah.
yeah. But when you know that he's the killer and you watch it again, like he's so dismissive of it in a way that a therapist shouldn't be. And like when she's like trying to like talk about the history of the house and stuff, he's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, throughout he's trying to push things on her, isn't he? He's trying to push like the learning. He's trying to push later on the moving out of the house and stuff. He's kind of telling her what to do or trying to.
Yeah. And there's a bit as well here. I think she's starting to like research the history of the house now independently. You get a great research montage, which is always good in a horror film. And there's a bit when she's on the computer, I think, or reading a book, can't remember. And then like the camera's positioned over her shoulder, and then there's the door in the frame at the back.
Yeah.
And then it like creaks open, you know, like in a ghost story, and she's just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
And she takes the door off.
Yeah,
I love that.
But the great comedy payoff of the little cabinet door swinging open afterwards is great. When you're expecting, having known horror movies for all of your life, that there's going to be a spook following on from that.
Yeah.
It's a laugh. Yeah.
Just reading. Sorry. So there's a bit with Graham, isn't there? Graham and Kylie during this time of the film where there's like...
after she smashed his thing and he's trying to fix it. He's like, can you help me?
And the whole like, you're like a daughter to... Like the really awkward...
Yeah. I love that scene.
Again, like...
Fucking hell, Graham, how do you even cope down here? No wonder you got asthma or whatever.
Yeah.
Love it.
But again, it's like... Kim and Cal in Kath and Kim. Like, you know how these tries to force like a father-daughter relationship. It's like Graham's trying to force a father-daughter
I don't think he's... honestly, I think he's a nice guy. I don't think he's forcing anything on
No,
him.
but
he's
that's what I mean by that.
A nice guy.
I'm not saying forcing in a...
You literally said forcing.
No, listen to me, laddie.
Oh no, you're forcing.
Listen here, young man.
I just think he's a nice guy. Like, he's awkward.
Yeah, but I
mean,
wasn't saying that he wasn't a nice guy. I'm just saying he's trying to force...
I would never use the word force with him. Like, he wasn't forcing anything.
Yeah,
he was just like
forcing...
He wasn't forcing
That's
it.
he's forcing the issue.
No, I think he hasn't spoken pretty much at all up until that point in the movie, and I think that's him like taking advantage of a situation to
trying to
actually
force
have
something.
trying
to force something
actually
to
someone's
happen.
listening to him for the first time in the entire movie. And
Well, I'm not listening to you.
He's just having a nice little heart to heart, is what he's having.
Yeah, he's just awkward, and like the mum normally speaks right when they're both together, so he's just trying to.
And Kylie obviously wasn't going to really talk about anything and was happy just to be there in silence, so he feels like he needs to fill it.
It was nice though, because she tells him to fuck off basically at first, but then she actually does come down.
Another bit of like great face / body acting is when she bashfully kind of sheepishly stands there when he walks out and he's surprised that she's come down after she said fuck off,
like,
Graham.
Yeah.
Love that bit.
Cool. Carry on.
Okay, after Graham, well, we
Go
find
on.
later who does it, but this is where the dentures come down the furnace. Well foreshadowed.
Yeah.
But like the
Foreshadowing would have been like something clunking around in the furnace.
Yeah,
or the
like
boiler.
dentures getting stuck.
Not just an offhand comment of it being broken. This is crazy.
You just did it because your boiler broke and it's all in your mind.
That is possibly
Do you
true.
remember when Kylie at the start was told that she's going to have to stay at my mom's house, and that foreshadowed the fact that she was actually staying at her mom's house throughout the whole movie?
Holy shit! Did
you realise that? Yeah.
No, not until right now.
This is this is writing on the level of Better Call Saul foreshadowing. Like this is right up there.
Why is Better Call Saul coming in?
Hey, it's the best show ever.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, amazing.
Clearly, that's The Wire.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes. Although Better Call Saul probably does have better writing. Anyway. Yeah, so now she finds the dentures. Is this when she's found out about the girl as well? What's her name?
Yeah, she must have done. Because, you just said looking through the old news montage.
Oh, yeah, and this is when she finds out about the girl that... Was it that she disappeared or she died?
She finds out that she died because
Yeah.
she goes to Amos afterwards, right, and says... Gives him the article, and he comes to the presumption that the ghost must be the girl.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Unfinished business, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the dentures come down the furnace, the foreshadowed furnace. I love the camera when it does that. It felt very Sam Raimi to me. Like
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of Sam Raimi angles.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to talk about when well, it's similar to the scene I said before, but when he's listening for the ghost to respond in the basement, Amos is. The camera does some wild card things. It goes like full down below and looks up at the mom and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's
and
very Sam Raimi.
swoons around the room in a Sam Raimi kind of fashion.
And so then she discovers that the neighbor has dentures, right? And so they...
Yeah, the rough-looking dude with the messy lawn.
Yeah. And then they make a quote-unquote plan to like break into his house. More foreshadowing.
Stop saying that word. He's losing all meaning.
It's not even shadowing.
The sun was in the sky. There was shadow.
Okay, this isn't foreshadowing, but it's a good use of her backstory as a criminal. Like that she's able to like break in and pick the locks
she
and
knows
stuff.
to pick out the spark plug. Or
Foreshadowed by her ATM
car.
antique.
Exactly. Your words.
And again, you get another great bit of Amos bumbling as well when she's trying to be quiet in the house, and then he's just like
Clattering all
Laurel
over.
and Hardying his way around the house. Yeah,
Gets his foot stuck in a bear trap.
I like when she puts her hands in the dentures and stuff
yeah.
like it's ridiculous and gruesome. Like,
that's
spits it out across the room.
Yeah, that's very Sam Raimi as well, isn't it? Like that whole thing, and then it flying across the room.
Yeah, the kind of visceral watching
like,
of the hand. Yeah.
Gotta get pincher.
And so then
Excuse me.
what? What? What did you say?
Gotta get something.
I heard gotta get.
Pretty much what I heard. Yeah, gotta get pincers. Gotta get...
I said gotta get pictures of Spider-Man. I said
exactly.
Pictures.
Exactly as J.K. Simmons delivered.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And here we find out from the neighbor about Eugene. So he says that like
I love that it actually turns out that he's kind of a sound guy, and he's
he's
not
cool.
even really that
just
bothered
happy.
about the breaking and entering.
Yeah, he just like happy to talk to her and tell her the story. Yeah. He's like, so Eugene is like he was brought as a baby by his mother, who then died like the next day.
Yeah. Presumably died. I think he says was gone. Or something, but yeah.
And he's like a savant, right? Like an idiot.
Yeah,
savant.
and there's it's quite a good little monologue, isn't it, where he's talking about like how he can take things apart and put things back together. But one day he found him with a
cat that he's trying to put back together. And then suddenly the film is okay. Now we got this guy running around, possibly killed
we've
that
switched
girl.
subgenres once again. Yeah.
So maybe it's not a ghost now. Maybe it's this guy Eugene running around killing people.
Yeah.
So
we find out that it's he was beaten with a tire chain or something ridiculously by the guy.
Yeah.
And then left, and that was a year before the death of the girl.
Yeah. And the final thing is that he never goes outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's agoraphobic, I think is the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at some point around
Nice.
Thanks, bro.
here, good word.
Today's word.
And today's word is agoraphobia. Say it with me. Agora.
Gora.
Phobia.
Phobia. What about you, Dave? What's your word of the day?
Foreshadowing.
For?
Need to look up the definition again.
No.
Yeah.
So it's at some point now that Graham gets stabbed. So what happens? Is she runs into the house?
Yeah, she runs into the house.
Yeah, and Amos tells her that he's following.
Yeah, because he has
By
a
calling
shotgun,
the phone.
doesn't he? And he gets caught in the bear trap.
Yeah.
And then she has to cover him with like the hood of a car or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then goes back in and thinks that it's him, the neighbour, coming in to find her. And it ends up being Graham who gets.
Or Graham.
I mean, that's just hilarious, though, isn't it?
It's
Because
really
it's
funny.
it's so gruesome. Like,
Yeah. She pulls it out and it's absolutely
shoots blood in her face.
It shoots blood. It's like, oh, there's no way he's alive. Next scene, he's in bed in like the hospital. He's okay. Like,
comedy of the absurd again.
Yeah.
I would have like stopped watching if he died.
Yeah. Great. Well, if any of the, I'm so happy at the end. We're skipping ahead to the end, but we've already kind of spoiled it anyway. But
Jumping the gun.
That's Dave's thing, but I'm happy to do it right now. Yeah,
true,
it makes me
Dave.
so happy that every single character survives this, other than Dennis, obviously, because they're all so like filming with such joy.
Yeah,
So it would have been too saddening and a bit like them including that scene that was a bit too serious by bringing the tone down a little bit with a Graham death.
Yeah, it's so nice to
Real
know
sad.
that they're just like going forward, living together as a four.
Yeah, it's part of the family is Eugene, part of
yeah.
the family is Amos, Part of the family is Kylie now, because she was
'cause
presumably
she-
absent from their life for like 10 years
yeah.
or something.
So here, Kylie now discovers the secret hallways. And I love any horror movie with people living in the walls. I love that shit because I find it so scary as a
Black
concept.
Christmas.
Yeah. And what's it called? The one with Jeffrey D. Morgan, The Resident. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I don't think it's as good as those previous two movies.
No, it's not. But I love the
Yeah.
idea of it so much.
Yeah. It's not something you see very often.
Yeah,
but it is
yeah,
something I like to see, and it's a good inversion of the ghost house kind of premise. I wish they did that inversion more often for it to be a trope. Really,
I like to see more serious, like more versions of this, but very serious. And the person.
yeah.
on
The
walls is-
boy.
Have you
is
watched The
kind
Boy?
of
I was
that,
going to say
yeah.
The Boy because we watched The Boy too. Did you watch The Boy?
Oh, is that really? Is that what happens? And no, I've only seen the second one.
Yeah,
The
because
second
that-
one
so-
is terrible. It's the worst.
So the second one,
The first one isn't that great either, but yeah.
it's a masterpiece compared to the second one. But the second one makes it supernatural. But in the
first one, yeah. It's
you think it's supernatural, but then you find out that it's just a
spoilers
person
for the
Oh,
boy.
great,
but
thanks.
yeah.
I already told it to you, probably.
It's not
Yeah,
that
but
great.
I forgot before. So yeah.
But you think the doll's alive, and really,
Oh.
you're all actually supposed to believe that some spooky man
Well, I'm not
is
gonna watch it now.
walking in the room,
Well, don't
and
watch it. Fuck
moving the doll, and then hiding again every time. Yeah.
So she finds the secret hallways in the house, and she comes. This is where we first see Eugene, right? Present day Eugene. He's just like watching TV.
It reminds me of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, his like aesthetic. I actually really like his aesthetic. He, if he was a
With
straightforward,
the ridiculously pale and darkened eyes,
Yeah.
and
Which
I mean-
you kind of would expect someone.
yeah, it
living in
makes
the wall.
perfect sense. But like if he was a straightforward horror villain, I think it would actually be a pretty iconic look for like a one-off film.
yeah, for sure.
Like and to be
but it
fair,
would be a lot less original for it to have been him. That's for sure.
yes, yeah, it would have been a lesser film. But like I think, he had a good look as a horror antagonist, which makes the ultimate reveal even better. I
But
think.
then
Yeah.
he is quite scary in this part. We like when he's sitting on the seat watching the TV with those oldie time headphones on,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
he's gone the next time.
Yeah.
That's a bit of true horror within the film, like a bit where you're actually on the edge of your seat.
yeah.
That's a bit of classic horror trope with the main protagonist sort of going like hands over her mouth and like trying not to breathe too heavily
Yeah.
and stuff. It's a good bit of horror.
Yeah, it is quite a good inversion of that trope, which was massive in the 70s and 80s for sure. And actually the early 2000s has always kind of been there, really.
Back in the
Poking through the wall.
1800s.
Remember in 1895 when that train came towards the screen? It was a bit like that. Yeah.
Train Lee Eugene.
Exactly.
So she runs away. She goes to the police now, right?
Yeah.
She escapes. From
Which has one of my
first.
favourite bits, which is when she's...
yeah.
two favourite bits, actually, in this one scene. One, where she's ranting the entire, like, what's happening, and he's, like... I wrote it down, but it was all a blur from there. Like,
he's
the
like,
vacuum
whoa, he's
cleaner went away, and it was all a blur from
He's like,
there.
whoa,
Yeah.
you're going too fast. And he's like, inside the wall. Like, he's typing like that. isn't
And then
he?
my other favourite bit is when this is going to sound insane. Yeah. Guy in the walls. aren't you?
Yeah. Amos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, Amos also found out about the guy on the walls. But the police can't find any evidence. They searched the house, right? They can't find anything. So they naturally get Dennis in. And he sits everyone down and and there's two policemen there. Her mum, Kylie and Amos. And he's trying to convince them.
And there's that random woman. Oh, is she a policewoman? Or is she like There's a random woman sitting there.
She's presumably a lawyer or a social worker.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
I think it's a lawyer, isn't it? She was.
Yeah, but it's almost
But
quite.
a lawyer's the guy, isn't he? That you see.
Oh yeah,
But it's hilarious. As there
Oh, no,
are those-
isn't she the social worker? Because her mum
Yeah.
like comments on her like Maori accent or something at the very
Yeah,
beginning
yeah.
of the film.
Yeah.
But I like how like sort of useless that character they put them in the film where they're obviously quite useless at it. And,
Oh, we don't even know really like
and
who
it's
they are.
it's almost like a take on the bureaucracy of all this stuff. Like this person has to be in the room, and this person has to be in the room, and this has to happen. and, like,
yeah.
there's all
you
these
get a couple of
people.
strangers.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
look in.
yeah,
Suddenly the room's full of like useless people.
Exactly.
So he's trying to convince them all. Dennis is trying to convince them all that she needs to be institutionalized, and then we find out that he wears dentures
Yeah.
because of a biscuit. Isn't
Such a good reveal.
Yeah. And she.
And then we get the 10 out of 10 team up, which is the daughter and the mother.
Yes,
Right, which
yes,
is like
once
the best team up in the movie.
But it's
in my
nice that
opinion.
the mother like immediately goes with it,
She's on team and
Yeah.
she wants to do the covering.
and it's not too forced either in that scenario.
Well, that's what one thing I like is because she believes in ghosts already, right? It's actually and also Amos also believes her immediately. So
Yeah.
as soon as Kylie realizes what's going on, or at least as soon as she is convinced that something's happening, she
Yeah.
knows her mum's already on her side, and Amos immediately sides with her as well. There's none of
Yeah.
that like.
Well, they're
we don't-
looking up for a way to help at that point, aren't they? Because they can't get involved in the discussion with Dennis and so on and the cops because they're just going to be lumped in with the what are you talking about side of Kylie, right?
Yeah.
This is why the tone of the film works so well, though, because you can believe the things like this happening. Say Salem's Lot from this year, when they jump to the right conclusion, it's a bit like, oh my god, that's so stupid. But in this,
Yeah.
they jump to the correct conclusion at the correct time.
Yeah, there's a natural evolution of
Yeah.
ideas based on the evidence presented.
And it's really
Yeah.
beautifully done, and you can see that's where that tone throughout really works its charm and works well. Like and why sort of little clips of going harder into their background and the drama of it, like a scene off Neighbours doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
fit.
I would like to see that scene, but yeah, maybe it was the right decision. But yeah, what I like is that even now, as we enter into like the final act of the film, they still keep the comedy.
Yeah.
There's one little bit that I
There's so much physical kind of
yeah.
like instantaneous comedy when like it's just an onslaught of it, especially in that little bit where she's slashing at him and he grabs the xylophone.
Oh yeah,
And there's the xylophone
Yeah,
tones,
yeah.
and then there's the cheese
Well, the
grater.
It's like the
Yeah,
Naked
then there's
Gun.
the basket
It's like-
and the slashing from in the
you
basket.
could literally
yeah.
put Leslie Nielsen in some of that stuff.
yeah.
Couldn't
It's
it?
kind of slapstick-esque. Yeah.
One of my like favorite jokes in the whole, well, the funniest bits for me in the whole thing is just before that when Kylie goes upstairs to like read through the notes and then confirm that he was a counsellor
Yeah.
when it was halfway
Yeah.
home. And then you just like see a flash of the notes.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's-
like skimming through
and,
them.
and it says that he institutionalized a talking stick. And then
Yeah.
it says Lizzie immediately started beating him with it.
Beating him about the face with
Just
it.
cracked me up. I just found it so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then as you say, then well, they come back downstairs and like the police are gone, right? They're already,
Yeah, everybody's gone basically,
Yeah.
and then they check the bathroom, and there's nobody in the bathroom, so something's amiss. Yeah,
But I always kind of like a bumbling like killer.
I like
someone
Scream.
who's got
Yeah.
It's like Ghostface. One of my favorite part of Ghostface is that he trips over carpets and like he's
Yeah.
not actually the most efficient
or a
killer.
bumbling character in general. I
Yeah.
don't think it's totally convincing or exciting to watch someone that you know has no flaws in their execution, and they're just going to do it.
Except for if
correctly.
they are Michael Myers. That's the only way like getting away with it is some
Yeah,
killer like
but,
that.
if,
that's
but
like
if it's
his
early
whole-
enough to be setting those tropes, I think it's allowable.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd never want Michael Myers to be bumbling around like Ghostface.
Oh, I do now.
That would be interesting.
Well, then we
maybe.
kind of got halfway there with Halloween Ends with the whole
Yeah.
like week and
Well, I would have
the
loved-
kid. What's
yeah.
his name again?
Corey.
Corey. Yeah.
I would have loved to see him on the back of Corey's moped.
That'd have been, that
going
basically
around town.
was what was happening.
Well, it had to be,
yeah.
yeah.
They probably filmed. They probably filmed a shot.
Oh, we need the Blu-ray. We need to cover it. Get
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Blu-ray. Look at the deleted
Yeah,
scenes.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Zack Snyder cut, kind
Yeah.
of 4-hour version of that movie.
Oh man, David Gordon Green should edit them all together into like a mini series with all the deleted scenes in, like a 10-hour masterpiece. Yes, make it happen.
2/3 of it would still be terrible though.
No, evil dies tonight.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway,
but yeah, like the whole like final confrontation.
Disagree.
Is just.
But yes, it's amazing.
Really funny.
It's tense and
hilarious.
Super funny at the exact same time. It's a massively talented balance between those two tones.
and even his death is comedic and gruesome. Because they keep the gruesome.
Because there's a lot of gore. There's a lot of proper
exactly.
violence.
Like my mum was like, "Ooh," when it came to the cheese grater. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and when she gets stabbed in the leg, it's a bit gristle, absolutely. And you hear it like a scream out and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, when his head pops and he gets stabbed with the meat fork.
I forgot that happens. I pissed myself.
It's really funny.
I mean, I've seen this movie like 10 times as much as you, but for some reason, I guess because it's been like 5 or 6 years, I'd forgotten that he survives the roof fall and comes back for the additional...
Everyone survives the roof fall. No killer ever dies from the roof fall. So
Dennis's head blows up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that reminded me of, again, Naked Gun, with where he puts the fire extinguisher hose in the guy's head, and and he like blows up like that.
Yeah, and I love that it's Eugene kind of taps her on the head to wake her up, and then passes the meat fork.
Yeah, I love that Eugene gets like a part of it at the end. Because he gets stabbed, doesn't he?
Yeah, like Oh, you're on about Eugene. Yeah, he gets stabbed from behind when he's got his premium hiding place.
Oh yeah, because he saves them, right? But beckons them into the wall, into his like little home.
Yeah,
and the mum's like, "Be nice. He's special or whatever."
Yeah.
Clearly got something wrong with him.
That's it. Yeah. And then she's just warming up to him, and he's like just like warming up to them, and then he gets stabbed in the back. You're like, "Fuck no."
But I like that they do that in this film. They obviously give their characters mortal wounds, and yet they survive and everything is good. I think that's part of the
And Dennis gets killed with a meat fork, right? Which is the same implement that killed the girl.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, or rather, the opposite, like callbacking. Yeah,
callbacking.
Yeah, unlike the boiler. Yeah.
Because it means that Eugene's got a sense of humour, because he picked that out right.
Yeah. I feel like he has a certain sense of humour.
Yeah.
Like the bit where there's the picture of her in the bath and she's like...
There's not more of these.
Is there more of these?
Like, no.
Yeah.
I just seen... we went to Dave's like factoid corner.
Oh, yeah.
We did?
Yeah, earlier on. I just noticed on the production bit on the Wikipedia... It's literally
Is it got Dave's factoid?
It's literally the one thing, the one production fact.
Oh, it's Wikipedia's factoid corner.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Whereas I use IMDb's factoid corner for
that's
mine.
so much better.
Jesus Christ. I'm so disappointed that there was no Blu-ray extras on this one. Because I've got nothing now.
Because that's your factoid
that's
corner.
That's my factoid corner, yeah. Great film.
Yeah. So we cut forward.
Unanimously agreed by here. Yeah.
What'd you give it out of 10, Dave?
Ooh, 8.5.
Oh, I gave this a solid 10. It's one of my favourites.
Really?
One of my actual...
Godfather.
You can't compare...
You do this all the time!
No, I do not.
You do. You
claim this.
It's the same as the Godfather.
That is exactly
okay, that is exactly what I've said. Okay, fine.
Thank you.
I
rest my case.
In its genre, this is the Godfather of horror comedies.
More than Shaun of the Dead.
That's also the Godfather of
That's the Godfather 2.
You can't say that.
I can. There's multiple
What about
Godfathers.
Hot Fuzz?
That's not as good as those.
What about The World's End? Sorry, that's...
But Evil Dead 2 is up there. The World's End is the Godfather 3 of horror comedies.
Just when I thought I was out. They put me back in.
Indeed.
So that should be my bingo
love
card.
it. Yeah. 10 out of 10. I find this is one... I don't rewatch movies, as I've said before, but whenever I see this popping up on streaming, which oddly enough isn't very often anymore. It used to be on Netflix, I think, or Prime.
Conveniently, it was on BBC iPlayer this week. So
You
can tell it's cheap,
but I'm always happy to watch it.
Like to get the rights if it's on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a solid 6 upside down. So a 9.
Just trying to tease out.
Just fucking with you there.
Yeah. A 6.
Well, yeah, I'd recommend this to. This to anybody, like even if you're not even particularly.
I think it's
a horror
like
fan.
a huge amount of fun.
liked it.
Even if you hate horror, it's got a little bit of violence in it and a little bit of threat, I guess.
But it's entertaining.
Yeah,
like all
on the
way
same
through.
level as Shaun of the Dead. Like, you
Yeah.
can completely be apathetic or even ignorant of what a horror movie is and still enjoy this movie, I think.
Yeah, and if one person watches the film because of this, I'll be happy. I know we spoiled the shit out of it, so hopefully they watched it before listening.
Yeah, hopefully they're avid enough to, watch the movie before we talk about it. Yeah.
We need those avid fans.
And on that note,
Did you hear it? This is what he wants you to be like. That's the ideal audience member.
That New Zealander
just
guy.
like DM him like
you know the one
audios.
I mean? Yeah, you know the one I mean.
This is the New Zealand guy.
Yeah, he's like the animal was like at the front of his house. You know this.
It's not a real thing. What the
Do I
fuck
know
are you
this?
talking about?
Yeah, and it's on a news broadcast, and he's like, "Oh, the bear was like coming out of nowhere."
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah. I don't think I remembered it was New Zealandy,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
a
have
Kiwi.
seen that bit.
Yeah.
So if you like us, give us £5 on the just
On
post
the
it.
street?
What in person?
Yeah.
We got nothing
If
set
you
up.
see us,
Sean,
yeah.
when you come home from Australia, can you bring a $10 bill back? That's £5. So-
Does he even refer to the UK as home anymore?
well, home is home, right?
Home is where the heart is what they say.
if you shop at B&M,
That is what they say.
if you shop at
what you
B&M and
say.
buy the fucking signs, no, because you always say "oh home" like when you're abroad. You don't like stop saying home because even though you might see that as your new home, it's still like, oh, we went home because that's where you're from originally. Like when Kylie goes home, she doesn't see it as her home, but it is her family home.
Do we know that Kylie calls Australia home?
Not that Kylie, the Kylie in this film.
I thought you meant
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue.
What are we talking about, Kylie Minogue? Well, we just spent an hour and a half talking about a film
It
with the main
doesn't help
character
that
called
Kylie Minogue
Kylie.
is Australian.
Kylie fucking
I
Minogue.
thought he was just branching out to
Jesus
Kylie
Christ.
Minogue.
Have
How
you
do I
been?
know?
Have you been like talking about Kylie Minogue for
I
this
thought
whole
we were
podcast?
talking about Kylie
Did you even watch the
Minogue's
film?
concert film. Yeah.
Well, I know who doesn't. Natalie Imbruglia. She's actually got a British passport now over an Aussie one. So there's a bit of Aussie facts for you.
A bit of Natalie trivia.
Yeah. And now she does shiver because she lives in the
and
UK.
she's all,
and this
she's all out of faith as well. Yeah. And this is how she feels.
Yes, we know you know the song.
Thank you.
And with that, what would you like to see us cover? So we've got some ideas. We're going to discuss that now, in fact. Not on camera, though. But we would like to know what you would like us to cover, too. So if you've got a film you'd like a retrospective on,
Yep.
or if there's maybe a review that we don't know about, which I doubt with Mark in the house. He knows
Maybe,
everything.
could be. If it's a very obscure, if you're from a country where there's a cinema presence I'm not particularly aware of, then there's an obscure movie for me, perhaps. But yeah, recommend the shit ones, the good ones, whatever. That's
And
good.
remember to leave a like Lenny. Share this wherever you like. Put this in the Housebound subreddit.
Which I'm sure exists.
Yeah. No, put
The
this
New
in
Zealand subreddit.
put in New Zealand house buyers, home buyers, the Auckland home buyers.
Yeah.
And
Share this on watchmojo.au. Yeah.
.nz.
Oh yeah, there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. See you soon for season 2.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.